We are Christina,
Oneida,
Alicia,
Colleen.
Welcome to 4NP's podcast.
This is a podcast by 4NPs. 4NPs, advanced practice nurses, students, and anyone interested in the medical arts.
That's the number 4 NPS podcast, and this is our introductory episode 00.
We are 4 friends and colleagues. We've called this episode, What Were They Thinking? The one where they started a podcast.
This podcast will be tailored to our audience. We will cover topics such as school, board exams, imposter syndrome, new jobs, career options, specialty practices, licensing, disease diagnosis and management, integrated solutions, holistic medicine, clinical pearls, coping, and anything else you can imagine.
If you have a topic you'd like to see covered, please feel free to email us at 4npspodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us through our social media.
For today's episode, we will tell you who we are, where we came from, and why we decided to do this. My name is Colleen. I had kind of a long path to nursing. I started out wanting to be a nurse in high school. I was always a math and science person. And when I was in high school, I volunteered at the ambulance corps, and the fire department came in to give a presentation on burns, and it made me physically ill. I actually had to leave the room. And I went home to my parents and said, I am no longer applying to be in nursing school. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And I kind of dropped it. And years later, I went to school for biology. And when I graduated, I had to decide what I really wanted to do. And I was struggling a little bit, didn't really know. I kind of wanted to be a field biologist, but I wanted to have children and a family, and I didn't think that that really fit too well for me. So finally, I just decided that I would try nursing school again. My mom had gotten sick, and I was taking care of her, and I was watching the nurses, and I was taking care of my mother, and she had kind of a bad wound that I was taking care of, and I thought, well, if I could do this for my mother, I could do this for anybody. And so I very rapidly enrolled in school, and I really haven't ever looked back. It was very hard. I had a couple of kids while I was in nursing school. I worked while I was in nursing school. I was able to get my LPN at the time. I was in a bachelor's program, and they used to allow you to get your LPN if you were a certain way through your bachelor's program. I don't believe that they allow that much anymore, but they used to. And so I did get that, and I worked for hospice. And then when I graduated, I worked in a hospital for just under a year. And then I found research. And so my specialty is, and my love is research. I have my own company, and I do consulting for companies that do clinical trials. I used to work for the clinical side, the doctors that were doing research, and now I work for the pharmaceutical side. And I really love what I do, and that's my specialty and my interest. I recently went back. I got my master's, and I did sit for my NP boards, and I will be starting, kind of slow starting, a position as a telehealth NP, which will be a complete new adventure for me. I love podcasts, and I am so excited to be part of this podcast. I've always listened to true crime podcasts. That's another love in life. But I think doing this will be so great, and I'm working with my 3 friends who have been just with me the whole ride, and we have a lot of fun together, and so we're on this new adventure.
Okay, I'll go next. My name is Christina. I kind of slowly got into nursing. I knew my mom had a couple of friends when I was growing up who were nurses, and I just, for whatever reason, I didn't think, what is that? So I really didn't even think about nursing as a career. I started in accounting, realized I didn't want to do that. I slowly decided I wanted to go into the math field, and that wasn't appropriate for me either. So I went back to school, and I took some courses in education, and I was a preschool aide and teacher for a very small amount of time. And then I was like, I'm not really sure what I want to do. So I just took a lot of different courses, and then I knew that I would figure it out eventually. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do until I had my first child. I went in, and I was terrified, and all of the nurses were there, and they were so caring and compassionate, and I was like, this is something, I want to make a difference in someone's life, and this is like perfect. It kind of just all came to me. I started that process. I started in California. I lived there with my husband and my 2 children. At the time, my children were very young. And we decided at a point, for different reasons, to move to New York because my husband is from New York. And the only program available to me at the time, which I could get into right away, even though I had started in an associate's program, was a bachelor's. And I was, encouraged to apply for the bachelor's program by my in-laws, and thank goodness. And I applied and I was accepted. So that's how my whole journey started. So I started the bachelor's program. This is where I met my 3 friends here who definitely helped me get through the program. Eventually, I graduated and started my first job and had an excellent experience. And at that point, I was not interested at all in going back to school. And then one of my friends, she'll talk later, kind of was like, we should do this. So I did it, and I'm glad that I did it. It took me 6 years. I did it very slowly while I was working full time. I had 2 children, husband. So, there was a lot on my plate, and I got through it. I knew that I would get through it eventually, and I did. There's been growing pains once I graduated, which we'll talk, throughout this podcast, but everything you're going to experience and all of your trials. But we're going to help you through it. And that's my story.
My name's Oneida, and this is my nursing journey. Started out when I was in the Navy. I was encouraged to take classes, further my education. And I had heard someone close to me talking about the nursing program. I said, hey, sounds good to me. Why not? So I went ahead and enrolled and started my nursing career courses that way. Obviously, I was in the Navy, so that was a part-time thing for me. And once I get to a point where I needed to do clinicals, I had to kind of make a decision whether or not I was going to stay in the Navy as, an officer or leave. I knew I wanted to have children. I was married, and seeing the separation of families wasn't appealing to me. So I decided to leave the Navy after 5 years and finish my nursing courses. I did that, became a nurse, got a job in the hospital, realized after a year I was pregnant. Didn't want to be working 12-hour shifts so far from home. I was commuting an hour to work, so I decided to do home care. Spent the next 6 years in home care. It was great. I learned a lot from the hospital and from home care. And then I realized I needed to do something different. Then I decided, why not go back to school and become an NP? I just wanted more options. I had a little bit more autonomy. So that's what I did. Spent the next 4 years in school for my NP. Worked part-time because I had 2 kids. Made it happen. Graduated. Then I decided to go into the school district, thinking that would be a good option. Spent a year there. Then realized I really needed to get more experience as an NP. I wanted that. I wanted to have, a different view of care and primary care. I thought that would give me the best options of knowledge and expertise. So that's where I'm at now.
Hi, this is Alicia, and I'll be telling you a little bit about my story. I was originally from New York City, raised in Queens, and I became a mom fairly young. And it was during that time that I took an interest in the medical field. My son was born with bilateral club foot, which is a deformity of the ankle and the calf. And just being on a journey with him as an infant, he had to wear casts. He went through 2 different surgeries. And I just remember being so in awe of the nursing staff and the medical staff and the doctors and everyone that helped us along that journey, because it was a pretty rough road, especially being a young mom at the time. And prior to that, I had no interest in medical field at all. I remember in high school, a friend of mine's mother asking me if I was ever interested in the medical field, because in high school, you don't have any idea what you want to do, what you want to be. And I remember her asking me, and I, at the time, just having no interest whatsoever. But here I was a few years later as a mom, and, just seeing and having such a great deal of respect for the medical field. So that being said, I did start college a little bit later in life. I was 23. I started an associate's degree program. At that time, I did have 2 children. And I actually became pregnant with my 3rd child, actually close to graduation. So I ended up getting a degree, an associate's degree in biology. And then at the time, having 3 children, I just took a few courses here and there, always knowing I wanted to keep going. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do physical therapy or nursing or physician assistant. At the time, nurse practitioner was not something that I even really knew that much about or anticipated myself moving forward in. But soon after, I did decide to move up to the Hudson Valley, and I've been here for about 19 years. After moving up to the Hudson Valley in about 2002, I was kind of lost. I really didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I actually got into real estate for a couple of years to try to just earn a little bit of cash. I got to know the area a little bit. And then I remember just having like a come to Jesus moment in my kitchen where I was just like, what in the world am I doing in real estate? Knowing that my heart really wasn't in it. And I just felt like this tug on my soul to just like get back to what I really love doing, which was in the sciences. And I did go back to school at that time, and I did have 3 children, completed my bachelor's and began practicing. It took me 13 years to finish my bachelor's degree. So I do want to say, for any of those of you out there that are, struggling, have children, single moms, whatever the case may be, it's just, just keep going. You could do it. Sometimes I remember thinking like, gosh, it's taking me so long, but it was definitely worth it. I did finally decide to return for the master's degree after, some support from my girls here. 2 of them had already started, and then it just seemed like it was just like the natural course for my life as well to just continue on. And here I am now. It's 2021, and I just completed my boards. Actually, I was the last but not least out of the 4 of us to finish school and to take the boards. So I'm fresh out of school, and after being in the Hudson Valley now 19 or so years, I'm actually Colorado bound. So I'm excited for that new phase of my life. I do have an interest in moving forward in some areas of holistic nursing and naturopathic medicine and plant-based eating. But during my nursing, I've done a little bit on cardiopulmonary. I've been in the OR. I've done case management. I've done care management, and I've done some urgent care nursing. So right now I'm just excited about what this is going to bring and us doing this together and encouraging people. And that's it.
So, Oneida, tell us when we all met, because you have the dates down.
January 2005.
Yeah.
That's settled.
That's settled. That is the official date.
And I know that because I was discharged from the Navy in December of 2004, and in order to enroll in January courses for college. And
okay, that makes sense.
That's good.
You've proved your...
So what was our first class together?
Micro. That was my first class.
So you took your first class with who?
Christina.
So we were already past that, you and I. So where did we all meet up? I can't remember where we all met up. I just felt like I always had you with me.
Was it Sasha? Oh,
maybe.
Are we saying names? Sorry. Was it?
Yeah, you
that
can say
guy?
Sasha.
No, he was a couple of courses in.
He was.
The nurse practitioner.
I want to say
so. I feel like it was skills.
It was
somewhere
skills,
around there
because that's one of the first courses you take in nursing school.
Yeah, so we took skill because we had Hurley. She had just started then too.
Yeah, that was my first clinical.
Yeah. Yep. So we were together for our first clinical.
And I feel like you guys mostly had your clinicals together, and we had our clinicals.
It was
together.
weird like that. Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
So
but didn't we all do Pete's together?
I think I met you before I met Oneida.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah. And I met you before I met Alicia.
Yeah.
Right, because I feel like I met you, and then you introduced me.
We were buds already from
already,
something else.
So.
I don't even remember.
And then we just started studying together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do remember having
nights and hours.
Clinical with Alicia for med-surg with Cook.
Oh. Yes, I do remember at Vassar, right?
Yeah. You thought I was just the smartest person, and I was...
I remember that.
I'm sure you guys were told, not the minutia story, but that was the not Hurley.
That was that
Tice story.
Yeah.
But we were getting ready to do like rounds, and it was in the morning, and she was trying to get us connected with like nurses and stuff and give us a brief on what was happening with the patients. And she mentioned CA.
You were like,
and I was just like, I had no idea what it meant. And Alicia, when she said that, Alicia looked at me and I was just like, yeah. And after that, she came to me. She's like, "What's CA?" I'm like, "What is CA?"
She's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "I thought you knew."
You made it seem as if you were totally on.
Yeah.
And we really didn't have phones to look anything up.
And you're like writing down your
CA.
I totally looked up to you. Yeah, I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to ask that one later because she knows what's going on.
She knows. I'm clueless.
I'm like, what's CA? I don't know. What is CA? But how, elementary, right? You think about it now, right? Mm-hmm. Like CA, come on. But back then, we were so
CA
brand new.
Cancer?
Yes.
Yes.
I was like, maybe I don't know what it is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was Jill Cook. She always had those, and she always used to call us green. You guys are green.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
I learned more from that woman.
Yeah, she was. She was great.
Yeah, she. I used to tell people, yeah, I made it through med-surg. That was the hardest class I will ever have to take in nursing school, and I came out of it 25 pounds heavier and pregnant, and I don't remember how.
When did that happen? Right. Wow.
So many good times.
I remember when you told me when you were sitting in your car or something, and you're like, I remember that. I was so happy for you.
Oh, it was great. Yeah. No, we definitely wanted, we wanted more children, but it wasn't happening. And so it wasn't like something I was in the forefront of my mind. It was kind of like, oh, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And we're fine. And so that was pretty funny. But I had put on we used to start studying at 11 o'clock at night. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, I remember being in the cafeteria eating chicken
would
fingers and fries all the time.
Yeah, we would get chicken fingers, fries, a cheeseburger. I think I would eat
with
sometimes.
extra dressing.
Extra dressing. I would get a Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder I put 25 pounds on. Seriously. Yeah.
Whatever gets you through.
Yeah, that was hard. And then the next really hard class after that was critical care, I think. The Ackerman.
Yeah. That was my favorite clinical though.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah. I don't remember who I had for clinical in that.
I think I had Tice too. I think Tice did it. Oh, clinical.
I was at Orange.
That was another moment, the Tice moment.
Oh. What's the Tice moment? I don't know the Tice.
Minutia.
That's where all that.
What is it though?
I just remember
Tice was great. She would do the which really most instructors really do, but she would come out after our day of being on the floor, critical care. We would have like a debrief, yeah.
Around the table.
Yeah, and we would even do like test questions for upcoming exams. And we were reviewing something that one of the patients in the ICU had, how they have all the different wires in the tubes, right? And oh my gosh, I don't remember now how it happened.
It was something she asked, and maybe you replied, or you asked.
She was like, she was talking about stuff, and she was like, the minutia, all the minutia, and then I'm like, and I did my whole yes to her, and I said, "What tube was the minutia?" Well, Tice, who doesn't really show emotion ever, had to get up and leave because she was about to lose it in tears.
We used to make her laugh all the time. And then after that.
And then everybody was like, so that was the, Oneida moment.
I love that.
Was remembered forever. I'm sure she would still remember that.
Every time I hear that word now, I think.
I don't think I ever do that story. I love it.
Which one was the minutia?
I just want to get this down.
Yeah. See, I did pretend I knew everything, And the one thing I asked about was the most ridiculous.
Oh my God. Too funny.
It's a cool word, though. Minutia.
Yeah, that is.
So we got through our bachelor's, and we all graduated in December of
2017.
December 2017, right?
No, 2007.
Oh my God! That's right. Oh boy.
Wow.
Graduated.
We'll talk about our momsheimer moments also sometimes.
December 2007, and we all got a job at the same hospital.
Mm-hmm.
which was amazing to have that support.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Who was the recruiter? She was awesome. Do you remember her?
yeah, but then she stopped like shortly after
She
that.
left after we got and we were like,
She hired 4 people at the
She
same
hired 4
time
people.
that knew each other.
Yeah.
I remember bringing
how does
resumes
where does that happen?
into
Never.
my interview with
That's
her.
why she's not there.
And I remember bringing somebody's resume or maybe everybody's resume into my interview. And I was like, you need to hire these nurses. This is this is literally the 4 top people in our nursing class. And you need to hire all of us. And she was like, okay.
And she did.
We should find her. We should find her.
Yeah, I'm sure I have her name somewhere. She was awesome. We met her at at the fair at school, at the job fair.
Yes, there was a job fair there. Yeah.
I can see her face.
She was interesting. She was blonde.
Yeah. True.
As 4 brunettes say.
I got fun highlights.
And I think we all had different journeys.
Yeah, sure.
As far as
Sure
different,
did.
yeah. So some better than others, but
But we stuck it out together, and
Yeah.
here we are again. We decided that, I think we spoke on returning back for our advanced degree, and we were all like, never ever will I even think
I
about
was like,
school.
I'll never do this
And then a
again.
few years later, we were like,
Heck no.
let's do
Yeah.
it.
No, I think we were meeting.
I think you were like, let's
Well,
do
I
it.
said, let's do it. And I knew you guys would be on board because we do things together as a team.
This is how it works.
Yeah, we have to do this.
And we are successful when we kind of, attack
yeah.
things together.
I just remember asking one of you, I don't remember who, but it was like, why? Why are we going back? Why? And
Right.
maybe it was you, but you were like, there's nothing else. Like, we have, like, this is, like,
The next step.
the next step, right? Because there's no other, like, kind of like we're at a ceiling where we are right now. And, like, almost like you, I think it was you.
Yeah.
Maybe. You
I just wanted to have more options.
Yeah,
I
I
wanted
think it
to
was
see-
definitely Oneida.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, we
we
can do more, and there's like, you kind of saw like the potential in us, and like it was like, you totally did.
We also kept meeting. Like every time we would meet a couple times a year, we would all kind of meet and go out to lunch or something.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I left, I'd come home and be like,
We got all these
oh, I'm going to look
ideas.
this up and I'm going to look this up and I'm going to look this
I
program.
can do
We're gonna
anything.
this. We're going to start a business. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
We were the
So,
Hudson Valley.
Yeah, that's what we were
Oh, right. That was our
the
first
goal.
goal.
That was the goal.
yeah.
HVNG.
Yeah.
We were going to have our
NP?
own. Yeah. Who
NP,
knows what happens down
yeah.
the road?
Here we are. We're just doing it a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, that's
it.
all.
You
this
know?
was inevitable.
That's all it is, right? You want to see God laugh? Tell him your plans. So here we are.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed our intro.
We were just getting started and have some great new episodes in the works. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to us and give us 5 stars. Any less than 5 stars would surely injure our ratings.
If you have any ideas or comments, please message us at 4npeacepodcast@gmail.com.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at 4NPs Podcast. That's the number 4NPS Podcast. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast, and go to our website at 4npspodcast.com for episode transcripts, resources, and more information about us.
We would like to thank Clark E. Taylor and Pat McCardle for our awesome original music.
We would like to thank our fearless producer, Matthew McCardle.
And if you believe in us and would like to support us, please visit our Patreon page.
We thank you for joining us today and hope you will listen to our first episode, Episode 1, What the Heck is an NP Anyway, and What Happens After I Graduate?
The information in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be used in substitute for professional care by a medical provider. The information in this podcast does not represent medical or other professional advice or services. The thoughts and opinions presented on the 4NPs podcast are of the hosts and guests and do not represent those of their employers.